Let's jump right into it today. We're diving deep into how to make your Videri Canvases even more amazing. I mean, these massive interactive displays, they're already super cool on their own, but who doesn't love taking things up a notch? Adding that extra wow factor, and more importantly, how do we even know if these canvases are really working their magic? We're investing time, energy, resources, so obviously we want to see results, right? But think about it. Usually when you want to make something like interactive, you end up with a tangled mess of wires and sensors, and then trying to measure the impact. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube in the dark.
Yeah, it's true. It's always been tricky to figure out how these big installations are really landing. But it's not just about measuring the impact. It's about making the experience really engaging for the audience, right? Like, how do you get people to really interact with it instead of just passively walking by?
And that is where SignMetrix comes in to save the day. They've created this system that not only adds a layer of really cool interactivity, but also gives you the data you need to understand what's working and what's a total flop. No more guessing games. Okay, so picture this. You have this huge interactive zone around your canvas. We're talking 20,000 square feet. Massive. And people are walking by with these teeny tiny devices called smart tags or soft tags. Don't worry, we'll get into those later. But the cool part is, as people move around, the canvas actually reacts to them. Content changes, lights flicker. It's like the canvas comes to life.
It's really smart how it works behind the scenes. SignMetrix uses these strategically placed sensors and some really sophisticated software to interpret all the data in real time. That's how you get that seamless interactive experience.
Yeah, so we're basically talking about magic, but wireless. No clunky setups, no tangled wires, just pure responsive interactivity. And it's all based on how people are actually engaging with the space. But wait, there's more. Remember that whole ROI mystery we talked about? Yeah, well, SignMetrix throws that right out the window. We're talking about a dashboard that gives you real, actionable insights. And it's not just about seeing numbers. It's about understanding what those numbers mean. How long are people sticking around? What's catching their eye? Are they actually engaging with the content? SignMetrix tracks it all.
Yeah, it's about going beyond just seeing dwell time or ad reach on a screen. It's about understanding the why behind those numbers. Why are people drawn to certain things? What makes them stop and engage? And SignMetrix gives you that really detailed data that you can use to tweak your content, make your message stronger, and ultimately see a better return on your investment.
And the best part, this isn't some crazy complicated system. SignMetrix is actually designed to be super user-friendly. They even have a demo kit, so you can try it out yourself, see the magic firsthand.
Yeah, the onboarding process is really straightforward, which is important because you want to be able to spend your time focusing on the good stuff, the insights, not wrestling with technology.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty exciting picture so far, but let's get into the details a bit. One of the key players in all of this is a little device called the Smart Counter. And trust me, this thing is a game changer. But more on that after a quick break.
Okay, so before the break, we were geeking out about SignMetrix and how it can really take those Videri Canvases up a notch, but how do you actually measure the success of all this interactivity? I mean, we can talk about engagement and impact all day long, but how do we really know if it's working?
That is the question, isn't it? And that's where the Smart Counter really shines. This little device, it's kind of the unsung hero of the SignMetrix system, quietly gathering all sorts of data without anyone even realizing it's there.
Okay, now you've got me curious. How small are we talking here? Is it like those giant security cameras they have at the mall? Not even close. Think more like the size of a matchbox. That's the Smart Counter. It's only 8.3 centimeters by 2.7 centimeters, so it blends right in. But don't let the size fool you. This little guy is a data powerhouse.
Wait a second, so you're telling me this tiny device can track data in a space that's, what, like 300 square feet? That's bigger than my living room.
That's right, and it only needs one power cord. No crazy wiring, no complicated installation. Just plug it in and you're good to go. You can even install a bunch of smart counters all over the place and connect them all back to your main SignMetrix dashboard. That way you get a complete picture of how people are moving through the space and how they're interacting with all your displays.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. It's like having a whole team of invisible data analysts secretly watching everyone, tracking their every move. But tell me, how does all this data actually translate into making things better? What's the real benefit for someone using this?
Well, imagine this. You can see, in real time, which displays are really grabbing people's attention and which ones are being totally ignored. That means you can make smarter decisions about where you're spending your money. You can tailor your content to what's actually resonating with people. You can even figure out the best places to put your displays in the first place, so you're maximizing their impact. It's not just about collecting data for the sake of it. It's about understanding why people are behaving the way they are, and then using that knowledge to craft a truly effective experience.
So it's like having X-ray vision into what makes people tick, which means you can make smarter decisions about your content, your budget, everything. I love it. But let's get specific here. Can you give me a real-world example of how this data actually plays out?
Absolutely. Remember those examples in the material, location A and location B? They both have the same awesome displays, same size space, 300 square feet to be exact, but the results they were getting, night and day.
Oh, yeah. One location had a ton of people, like 11 or 12, with an ad reach of almost 700. The other one, just a couple people, with an ad reach of just over 100. Same display, same size, totally different results. So what's going on there? What's the smart counter telling us?
It all comes down to optimization, using data to make things better. By looking at the numbers, foot traffic, dwell time, ad reach, you can start to spot trends and make smart choices about your strategy. Like maybe location B needs a more eye-catching display, or maybe location A is just in a better spot naturally. The point is you can't fix what you don't measure. And the smart counter, it lets you measure everything with incredible accuracy.
Right. So instead of just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, you're making strategic decisions based on hard data, which I love. But this data doesn't just exist in a void, does it? What happens to all this amazing information that the smart counter is collecting?
Well, all that raw data gets fed directly into the SignMetrix dashboard, and that's where the real magic happens. The dashboard takes all that data and turns it into something you can actually use. We're talking ROI calculations, performance comparisons across different locations. You can even track how effective specific pieces of content are. This is where the rubber really hits the road, because you can see, without a doubt, what's working and what's not.
It's not just about knowing how many people saw your display. It's about understanding the value of every single interaction, and then using that to create even more engaging and effective experiences.
This is amazing stuff. But before we go too far down the rabbit hole of everything the smart counter can do, let's take a moment to address the elephant in the room: privacy. We're talking about collecting a lot of data here, and in today's world, that's a big deal. So how does SignMetrix handle all of that sensitive information? It's a really important point to bring up, especially these days when everyone is super conscious of their data. So how does SignMetrix approach all of this, especially with privacy in mind?
It's definitely a huge concern, and SignMetrix has made it a priority. The really cool thing is that they're able to gather all of this data without using any cameras or facial recognition technology. It's all completely anonymous. So it's about understanding those broader behavioral trends, not about tracking individuals.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're getting all the benefits of data-driven insights without having to compromise anyone's privacy. That's definitely a win-win in my book. This has been a fascinating deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from those massive Videri Canvases to the ins and outs of SignMetrix, and of course that little data-gathering ninja, the smart counter. It's amazing to think that we can take these passive viewing experiences and transform them into something truly interactive and engaging. And what I find even more incredible is that we can actually measure the impact of those experiences with this crazy level of detail.
Absolutely. For me, the real game changer is this shift. Instead of just putting a message out there and hoping for the best, we can now understand how people are really experiencing that message and how they're interacting with it. And that just opens up a world of possibilities. We can create such richer, more impactful experiences now.
Right. It's like instead of shouting into the void, you're having a real conversation. You're using this data to really listen to your audience and understand what they need and want. So for those listening, for anyone ready to supercharge their own Videri Canvases, what would you say is the most important takeaway?
I'd say this: knowing your audience, that's powerful. But the real magic happens when you use that knowledge to create even better, more personalized, more engaging experiences. So the question is, what will you create now that you have this deeper understanding?
That's a great question to leave everyone with. And that's a wrap on this deep dive. Until next time.